Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Swing Week Singh here. Today we will build the TS-11 Iskra in the Indian Air Force scheme. This is the kit that I will be using, which is the Mistercraft 1/72nd scale TS-11 Iskra. I recently did an unboxing of this kit on the channel, so if you haven't already, please hop over to the link mentioned in the description and have a look at the unboxing and how the sprues look, including everything else that's inside the box. So in the usual way that I start every build, I start by painting the cockpit interiors, and here you can see how the floor looks. This is where the seat, the instrument panel and the control column will fix. The seats are pretty good looking. They've got a lot of detail, and I simply painted them black because that's what the Iskra seats are. They're all black. The interior of the cockpit walls was painted with Bosnia cements gray, and then I started painting up the two pilot figures that were included with the kit, starting with the instructor, which was painted in this orange overall because that's what the Indian Air Force instructors wear, and the trainee pilot in the green overalls. So many people have asked me the type of glue that I use to glue my models, and I use the cyanoacrylate Fevikwik glue. This time I'm using the one with the applicator nose, and I'm assembling the WSK SO3W jet engine of the Iskra. And then I went on to a lot of drive fitting that was actually required. As you can see here, the alignment of the fuselage halves is not perfect, so I had to open up the hole a little bit more, and once I did that with my X-Acto knife, here you can see that the alignment is surprisingly good, with probably just one single seam line all along the fuselage that may have to be addressed. Now the seat, the instrument panel and the control column, they actually fit on the floor almost like Lego pieces. They've got good positive locator pins and the assembly is pretty good. I then slid the floor into the cockpit wall section and just added a drop of cyanoacrylate glue, although this wasn't required because the assembly was pretty easy to manage, and the only thing that was then required was to close the fuselage halves. And once I did that, you can see how well the two halves have joined together, and then I added again cyanoacrylate glue Fevikwik and joined the two fuselage halves together. Now I was expecting some gaps to be there in the wing root assembly, which I did find. However, the fit of the horizontal stabilizers is quite snug. There are positive locator pins, and you can easily install the horizontal tailplane section, and the wing gaps would have to be addressed with filler. Now there is this little section at the back of the jet engine which goes below the wing trailing edge, and this needed a lot of I would say, management as far as cleanup and the fitment is concerned, because this forms the rear part of the air intake assembly under the wing, so it needed a lot of cleanup and sanding to get it to fit properly within the wing root surface. Once again, I used the Fevikwik cyanoacrylate glue to ensure that everything fits together perfectly. Okay, modeling clay to the rescue here, because my build is going to be a wheels up configuration. I did not use the wheel gear bay door covers supplied with the kit because they were absolutely pathetic, and the same goes for the Zuni rocket pods. So I just did away with the rocket pods and decided to install the drop tanks instead. It was at a later stage that I realized that the Indian Air Force Iskras did not carry the drop tanks. Alright, so with everything now done up, the filler is in place. You can see that seam line all along the nose, the fuselage, the wing roots, and on the underside also. And here you can see that I've added Tamiya filler and also modeling clay to close up the undercarriage gear bay door assemblies. The most time consuming part, where I spent considerable amount of time, was the polishing of the canopy. As you would have seen in my unboxing video, the canopy was really fogged up, so I went ahead with progressive sanding, starting from 600 grit, moving right up to 3000 grit sandpapers, and sanded off the fogginess. And once all the sanding was done, then I resorted to the Tamiya coarse, fine and finished compounds to polish off the canopy. And once all that was done and I was satisfied with how clean it looked, I dipped it inside Future to give it the final glass-like shine. And I was pretty satisfied with how clean I made it look once all the sanding and polishing was done. I then masked off the canopy frames and placed the pilots within their seats, with the trainee pilot in the front, the instructor in the rear seat, and then closed up the main canopy section, which was masked before that off camera. And here you can see the alignment wasn't really good with the fuselage, so this also had to be addressed with a lot of filler, which you see here. I could not film myself painting the bright chrome with the spray can because the conditions outside were really foggy in Delhi. So here you can see me now painting the anti-glare gray, which is there on the Iskra's nose, and I used my improvised Fevicryl blue-gray paint to paint up the nose. I then moved on to the painting of the yellow training markings on the outer surfaces of the wings and on the trailing edge of the fuselage, and I used Fevicryl golden yellow to paint up these markings. It took 3 to 4 coats of yellow to show up properly, but thankfully there was silver underneath, and so the shine of the yellow was as expected. I then removed the masking, and I was pretty chuffed at the way the yellow turned out. And I've used the simple carpenter's masking tape. I just doubled it up for the masking purposes. And the penultimate step was applying the decals, so I used my standard procedure of applying the decals. Now the decals included with the kit do have the Indian Air Force markings, although the saffron looks more like the red, giving it the impression of a French marking rather than an Indian one, but still I used them nonetheless. I then removed the canopy masking and proceeded to the final step of the build, which is the weathering. I used Camlin chalk pastels to create this brick red wash and applied it within the panels using the pin wash method, and then cleaned it up. And the final step was to use stretch sprue to create this forward firing 23mm gun of the Iskra. And once that was done, I called this build complete. So my 2 cents with this Mistercraft kit is that it builds up into a relatively good model, and I was surprised at the way the fuselage aligned itself once I had done the cleanups. This is contrary to the really bad feedback about Mistercraft that I had heard, and for a cheap $8 model, this is not bad, considering that the only thing I needed extra was the filler in the wing roots and the fuselage seam line. But then that's the challenge that every modeler would like to have. I mean, there is no challenge if you have just a shake and bake kit and you can just put it together in no time. Of course, there is some pleasure in having a good fitting kit, but if you want to challenge your modeling skills, Mistercraft is a go for kit as per me. The kit also gave me a good bit of challenge in cleanup and polishing of the canopy because the canopy was really fogged up. And of course, the fit of the canopy to the fuselage was another thing that needed to be addressed. So thank you for sticking around so far. I will see you again in the next video. See you here. Bye bye. Take care.